Jai Hind everyone. My name is Pooja Pandey. I am the assistant professor in the MCA department in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. And today I am going to discuss a very important topic, that is operating system structure, or what are the or how many types of structure are there in the operating system when we study the operating system. Before studying the structure, different types of the structure, first let us take a revision that what do you mean by the operating system. See, listen, operating system is act as an interface between the user and the computer hardware. You can say it manages the both the hardware and the software resources. It act as a interface, right? The user, like I am the user and I am doing some work in the laptop or in the desktop, then the operating system is acting as an interface that what I am writing in my laptop or what I am reading or I am taking the printout, with the help of the operating system only I can take that. So operating system act as an interface between the user and the computer hardware. Or you can say the operating system is a type of a manager that runs the computer and keeps everything in a very, you can say in very smoothly or working very smoothly. Now, what are the role of the operating system? Since we have discussed that the operating system act as a manager, so what is the work of the manager? The work of the manager is that the everything or every work should be done very smoothly. So it is very clear that operating system work as a resource allocator. That means that it manages all the system resources and decide fairly between, and there should be no conflict between the allocation of the resources, right? Now, I say that operating system is acting as a control program. Why it is acting as a control program? Because it takes a control of everything, that whom and how much the resources should be allocated, how much memory should be allocated, how much input output device should be used. All these things are controlled by the operating system, and it prevents the errors and misuse of the computers, because equally if things are divided, there is no chances of any error, or you can say the misuse of the computer. Now, when I am talking about the operating system, topic comes in our mind that somebody says that kernel also, or kernel, we say that kernel. Then what is a kernel? Or you can say what is an operating system? We know that operating system is also it is an acting as a between the interface between the user and the hardware. Now, I say if I'm going to differentiate between the kernel and the operating system, then I simply say that the operating system is equals to shell plus kernel. It means that shell is acting as a command interpreter, right? And kernel is acting as a, you can say it is a heart of an operating system, right? It is an heart of the operating system. Clear? So I say that because, see, if I say this is a hardware and this, and here it is a user, so this kernel, it is acting you can say it is acting an interface between the bridge between the user and the various resources offered by the system, by accessing which various resources of a computer such as input output devices, CPU and various other resources, we can done our work, right? So you can say that operating system is a combination of the shell and the kernel. And shell is basically a command interpreter, or you can say it acts as an interface between the hardware and the shell, right? It act as a you can say interface between the, it act as an interface between the kernel and the user, right? And now kernel is basically a core, and you can say it is a brain or the heart of the operating system, which manages the operation of the hardware and the computer. Now, when I am discussing that operating system, or I am discussing that what do you mean, what is the difference between the kernel and the operating system, then the another important topic arises in the subject operating system, that what do you mean by the operating structure. Now, the operating structure refers that how the various, this how, the word how, it itself clarifies that how the various components of the operating system are organized and are interconnected. They are organized and interconnected. That is, it specifies the overall internal structure of the operating system, how the structure is defined, right? Or you can say that this is a combination of the logical component plus logical interrelationship of the components, that how they are interrelated, it is a operating system structure. Now, there are number of the operating system structure. So we are discussing all these structure in this lecture video. That is simple structure, monolithic, layered, microkernel, exokernel, and the modular structure. Now, when I am discussing about the simple structure is not a, you can say it is not a well-defined structure. It is a very small, simple, and have a limited functionalities, right? You can say that the interface and the level of the functionality are not well separated. In this diagram, if you see that is an application program, resident program, MS-DOS devices, drivers, and the ROM BIOS device driver. All these are the components. They are not the layers. So, like the MS-DOS has got these all four components, and these all four components are equally, if you see that, they are equally interacting with other. Since application program is interacting with the ROM BIOS device driver, now resident system is also interacting with the, each component is interacted with the ROM BIOS device driver. So it is not a well defined structure, right? So this is a very simple structure. In earlier days we used to work on this MS-DOS. Now, what is the better advantages? The advantages of the simple structure is that since it is a very simple, so there is a better performance due to these few interfaces, and easier for the developer to develop the operating system. But disadvantage is that it does not have any data hiding, because each component is interacting with each other. So there is no source of data hiding. Now, structure is very complicated because the clear boundaries are not defined between the each components or the modules, that what they have to actually work, right? So that is a disadvantages of the simple structure. Now, the second is your monolithic structure. The monolithic structure means that it comprises of all the core operating system components, including your kernel, including your you can say device drivers, system services, are combined into a large binary file. Now, this architecture provide a direct interaction. You can see in the diagram this architecture provides a direct interaction between the components. There is a direct interaction between the component, this file management, network, drivers, process. So there is each and everything is kept in a single you can say large binary file. So these all are interacting with each other very easily, resulting very fast execution. If everything is directly they are interacting, the result is that there is a fast execution and the simplified development. Now, but there is a problem that it leads to the complexity, because if they are directly interacting with each other, then it is very you can say it is very tough to maintain. It is difficult to maintain and extend the system, right? It increases the complexity of the system, right? Now, monolithic structure. Key characteristics of the monolithic architecture is that it has got the single kernel. Why it has got the single kernel? Because all the essential operating system functions are residing in the single and the large, right? And there is a direct interaction between all the you can say all the services or all the functions which are kept at one place. Now, the design is very straightforward. Each and everything is kept in the one. So there is no source of, or you can say there is no way that we have to put the process system here, device driver here. We are keeping each and everything in the one direction. Now, it has got the fast performance. Why? Because each drivers, or you can say each essential function, is residing in a single. There is no layer are there. So they are executing fast because they are directly interacting. Now, complex maintenance. Why there is a complex maintenance? Because if there is a problem in one part of the kernel, since they are all functional, all operating system functions or essential operating system functions are kept in one single large kernel. That's why if one function is failed, or if there is an error in one function, then it will affect the entire system, making it difficult to maintain and extend. And it is not easily it will be not easy to find out that where the error has occurred. Now, example of the monolithic operating systems are, we can see that Linux, Windows, Mac OS, these are all the example of the monolithic structure. Now, what are the advantages? Earlier we have discussed that it is good performance. Why it is a good performance? Because overall system is capped there. All the essential functions are capped at the one place. So that's why it is interacting directly. So there is a good speed, or so that's why the performance is good. Simplified development. Why? Because the design is very simple. Each and everything is capped there, and fast speed. And interaction is easily with every application. That's why it is a simplified development. Now, if it is interacting directly with each and every component, so the result is the faster execution. So that's why we say that speed and efficiency is a very good in the monolithic structure. Now, disadvantages, since it is capped in one position, so that is, you can say, it is capped in the one kernel only. It is a big binary file. That's why it is increased complexity, and the size of the kernel is very large, so it is very difficult to understand and maintain, and it is very difficult to extend if we want to extend something more. And adding a new feature or modifying the new feature is one of the biggest challenge. Why? Because already the kernel is already in the very big size, you say. Now, there is a potential of the system instability, and if there is a one part, if there is a bug in one part of the kernel, then it will potentially bring down the entire system. So you can say that it is a monolithic structure. Now, the third is your layered structure. This layered structure is a very simple structure, you say. And this basically here the operating system is divided into the you can say this into the multiple layers, starting from the layer 0 to the layer 5. That is, layer 0 is the hardware, and layer 5 or the topmost is the user interface. Now, this layered approach or layered structure provides the modularity, making the system system easier to design and manage. Now, in this layer structure, each layer is clearly defined, its service is clearly defined, and each layer uses the services of only the lower directly below this. For example, this CPU scheduling is using the you can say this CPU scheduling is using the services of the hardware only. This memory management is using the you can say the services of the CPU scheduling, and this OPS, yani operator process communication, this is using the memory management. Input output management is using the operator process, and user program is using the input output management. So you can say that this is a function of the layered architecture. Now, the debugging and system verification in this layered architecture is very, you can say, is very simplified, since each layer can be tested independently. Each layer has got its individuality. So, if an error is detected during the debugging, it must be within the current layer, as the lower ones are the already verified. So, it means that if an error is detected in the memory management, it means that CPU scheduling and hardware layer is okay. Because if these are okay, then only the process has went to the memory management. And if there is an error in the memory management, it means that the error is in only the memory management, not the layers below the memory management. Right. Now, each layer in this operating system or using the operation provided by lower layers without needing to know their internal implementation or the functionality. Now, this CPU scheduling layer is built independently. This layer does not know that how the hardware or whatever the function, or you can say what are the internal implementation of the hardware. It means that none of the layer are bothered about that what the other layer, how the other layer has been implemented or how the other layer is working. They have to take care of their own work. Now, advantages. If I am talking about the advantages of the layered architecture, then layered architecture is again the modularity. the system is divided into the manageable independent layers, right? Now, simplified debugging and the testing. Now, each layer can be tested individually, assuming that lower layer is the working correctly. Now, changes, if I want to change, want to make the changes or any updation in any specific layer, we can make it, and it doesn't affect the other layer, right? Because each layer has got its individuality. That's why we can make the changes individually. Now, there is a clear separation of the concern. Now, each layer has a specific responsibilities and uses service only from the layer directly below. It means that if I go back to the diagram, it means that CPU scheduling is using only the function of the hardware. It is not using the function of the memory management. So, any layer here is only using the functions, or you can say the services of the layer which are below to that layer, right? Above layer, they are not using that. Now, simplified design by breaking down the complexity into the well defined. Since the each individual layer has got its individuality, or you can say that each layer has working its own work. So it is a very simplified design, and we can break the complexity and we can easily find out the error. Now, what is the disadvantage? It is, now, if I say the layered architecture is complexity, there is a complexity in the layered architecture. Why? Because the layer boundaries are not clearly defined, that which layer has to do the what type of, or till what extent they have to do the work. Now, there is a limited flexibility. They can directly only interact with the lower layer. Higher layer can only use the layer directly below. They are not able to use the services, or you can say the services above the layer, right? Now, modify lower layer. Modifying the lower layer, that is, if we are modifying the hardware or CPU scheduling, then it will impact all the upper layer. Why? Because all the upper layer are taking the services from the, or taking the responsibilities, or taking the functionalities, or using the functionalities from the below layer, right? Now, microkernel structure. If I am discussing about the microkernel structure is a very simple approach. It is, you can say it is a just opposite to the monolithic structure. In monolithic structure, we are using a kernel, and all the important functionalities, or all the functionalities are kept in the one big binary file, right? But in the microkernel, it is a minimalist approach, where kernel is very small in size and it only contains the core services. Now, this remaining operating components are implemented as a user kernel service which interact with the kernel through the IPC. Okay. Now, this you can say this approach enhances the security, flexibility, and the maintainability. You can see that this microkernel is there, and only hardware is there, and application, and in the microkernel, main services are there only. No extra services we are paying. We are concentrated to what are the main core services of the operating system. Only that we are using in the microkernel structure. Now, the advantages are that it provides the modularity and extensibility. You can say that. Now, again, it offers a better system reliability and the security, and it is very easier to maintain and update because it contains a very core functionalities, right? So, it improves portability to the different hardware. Now, ensures the fault isolation. Now, if there is an error in the one services, if there is an error in the one services, you can say that then it don't crash the whole system. Now, disadvantages. If I am discussing about the disadvantages in very quick, if I say that it introduces the performance overhead due to the frequent IPC, and it has a complex system design challenges, and it results the slower service execution compared to the monolithic kernel, right? And it makes more difficult debugging, more difficult because there are the distributed services. Now, exokernel structure. If I am talking about the exokernel structure, this exokernel structure, you can say, this exokernel structure, if I am discussing about it provides only the basic mechanism for the resource allocation and the protection. Its work is to provide only basic mechanism of resource allocation and the protection. Now, in an exokernel structure, there exposes the hardware resources directly to the application, and it allow them to manage the resources like the memory and the CPU. Now, application in the library implement the high level OS abstraction, but in the user space, not in the kernel. Now, resource multiplexing is done securely, ensuring different application can be safely shared hardware. Now, advantages. It improves the application control. Now, it separates the management from the security, and it is simpler to test and create new OS, and each user program is allowed to use a custom memory management system. Now, disadvantages. It has got the complex application development, since application must manage resource themselves, right? Now, there is a compatibility issues, as the traditional operating system abstractions are provided by the kernel. Now, there is a limited commercial adoption and maturity compared to the kernel architecture. Now, modular structure. The last one is your modular structure. The modular operating system, since operating system is divided into a very separate modules, and each module is responsible for the specific task. Like each module, you say that each module is, you can say that it is a device drivers, file system, and the network services, right? Now, all the modules which my operating system is divided into the separate modules. Now, all that separate modules can communicate with the core kernel, you can say. Communicate with the core kernel, but can be loaded or removed dynamically as needed. Now, it combines both the monolithic and the microkernel approaches, right? Now, modular, if I am talking about the modular structure, modular structure promote the flexibility and easier system extension by adding or updating the modules without rebooting. For example, Linux uses a modular structure, so we can provide some extension in that, right? Advantages are the flexibility, that is modules can be added, simple maintenance and the update, that is individual modules can be modified without affecting the other. Then the enhanced system reliability and the fault isolation, since error in one module don't crash the whole system. Now, the next is your efficient performance compared to the microkernel, because critical modules run in the kernel space. Now, disadvantages that the complex module dependency can arise, making management tricky. And now the increased kernel size if too many modules are loaded, and security risk if unreliable or unauthorized modules are loaded into the kernel space. So, that is a disadvantages of the modular. Now, there is a question to you all. We have studied all these types of the operating system. Can you tell me which one is the best structure in the operating system in all these 6 structure we have discussed here? So, this is a homework for you all.